doctor approved steps to get started in a weight loss journey. I've talked about some of these already in terms of what we might want to do before any diet, and those are, really where I have every patient start, in addition to kind of labs, would be, I want to initiate some amount of surveillance weighing, as well as mindful and intuitive eating, and then slowly building tracking as a skill. I think all of that, definitely is fantastic. And then we get into kind of some finer points as like we progress, right? And so in addition to all of that, I would definitely say 100% adequate protein intake. Based on someone's physiology and sometimes how the labs turn out, there are going to be certain diets that we would recommend, especially in cases like PCOS, diabetes, insulin resistance, that other than that, I actually want you, I always say, you're not on my diet. Your diet is yours. And so whatever diet you have today, that is where we start. And that's where tracking can be helpful in terms of, what do we want? Like small changes. Think about how we like and how we can. I always say to patients, as far as like kind of food desires, it's like, we don't say no, we say how. How can we make that, work in a diet? And so, certainly for where we're getting started, and certainly especially, early in the day, even if you are not hungry for breakfast. And again, I've talked about this before. There actually is no evidence of increased loss with consumption of breakfast. I don't ever believe in like artificially being kind of told what to eat. But I also say, the only time I will ever not fuss at you for eating when you're not hungry is to ensure adequate protein intake. And so there are times where I, kind of look over like kind of what's going on and someone's really not progressing. And I'm like, oh gosh, we do not have enough protein. And I actually will tell people tell people to schedule this, and I'm like, look, I don't care if it's a supplement or not, but we have got to get adequate protein into you, because then otherwise when we lose, we are going to be sacrificing muscle, and we don't want that. Okay. So, I do think protein at the beginning of the day is great. How you consume protein is critically important. You need at least 30 grams at a time to be sending the appropriate gene regulatory signals to preserve and build muscle mass. So protein is great. I would strongly recommend a protein if you're going to do that in a supplement. So you can use collagen powder. There is beef protein now. There are lots of really excellent protein shakes online in terms of like bariatric fusion, Undri. People say all kinds of things about Premier. Yeah, there's some process aspects to that, but you do want to have the 30 grams. I think Fairlife Nutrition, 30 grams is great. Core Power, you got lots of choices, okay? And so I would definitely say ensuring adequate protein intake and starting your day like that is ideal. Slowly increasing activity is also key. So 1, adequate protein. 2, increasing activity, not in, again, a shameful or objective-oriented way, but attitude of curiosity. What do you like? What can you do? What can you do actually forever? Because you're going to be doing this a long time. And so begin to explore that. I tell patients like, look, I really need this most by the end of your journey, because studies show, hey, most important skill for both loss and maintenance is surveillance weighing. And under that, on the loss side, really kind of what we eat. And then on the maintenance side, definitely activity. And so there's a timeline for that, and you can take time to really find something that you like, and that's okay. So at least begin exploring. Do have adequate fluid intake. There's a lot of studies that show sometimes we actually mistake kind of thirst and hunger. And so if you find that you're kind of hungry a lot, and really as we begin to sort of shed that everything we've been told about when and how we should eat and how frequently, now stop. Are you hungry? And sometimes taking the time to kind of, have a drink first and like, am I still hungry? Can be like incredibly helpful. And then also, making sure that we're stopping meals a good bit before going to bed. I think all of those are great places to start. So we would just say like, which one are you starting today? And just remember, like, the only way you lose this is if you quit. And so just don't. Slow, sustainable changes. The average American gains 1 to 2 pounds almost every year of their adult life. Okay, well, gaining 2 pounds in a year is 7,000. Well, if you use 3,500 conversion, if we presume 7,000 calories, right? That's only 19 calories a day. So, okay, can you make a change of 19 calories a day? Okay, that's 2 pounds down this year. So 10 years, 20 pounds. But we have time, right? You will literally be living in your body the rest of your life. So take the time to make changes you can live with forever, and don't ever give up.